just dropping some different mental health related content into the feed today. Last fall, I had the honor of being a guest on the Therapy Tea podcast with my new friends, Jasmine and Karen. If you caught the friendship series on the couch next door, you'll remember these two therapist besties who shared their incredible journey of friendship, both as humans and as professionals. While I was on their show, I opened up about my own path to becoming a therapist and honestly, all the things I didn't know until I was deep in it. So if you've ever wondered how I ended up here, this episode is definitely for you. And if you're curious about the therapy profession, what it looks like behind the scenes, I highly recommend subscribing to Therapy Tea. Jasmine and Karen are so smart, incredibly funny, and their conversations are always thought-provoking, real, and wildly entertaining. I really think y'all are going to enjoy this show. So here it is, my conversation with Jasmine and Karen on Therapy Tea. Hey y'all, welcome to Therapy Tea. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Karen.
We're two licensed professional counselors from Texas, just trying to break down, demystify, and better understand the mental health field and all that it encompasses.
Here we get candid with other professionals, find out what they wish they had known sooner, and explore what it's really like to work in mental health. Let's get started. Welcome back to Therapy Tea, everybody.
Woo! Ooh, fall is here, but we're not going to talk about
God
the
damn
weather.
it. What is your problem?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. What else does any of us have in common? Karen, you come up with something to talk about because last time I talked about rocks.
You know what's ridiculous is like literally every time we have a conversation, it's just the two of us. We're not recording. We don't fucking talk about the weather. But as soon as the mic is on, as soon as that record button is on, weather time.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's just skip it. Let's just skip. Let's talk about this week. This week, we're doing something really cool. We're sharing our interview with Candice Fraser. And she's awesome because she's a new friend. She's another stranger that's no longer a stranger because we got to meet her because of the podcast. She was friends of someone that we had on the podcast. Shout out to anybody who wants to be on the podcast. You're like, hey, I listen to the show every other week. I really like it. It fuels me for the rest of my week. I am a clinician I'm a clinician. We do licensed clinicians, so no pre-license or anything like that. But if you want to be on the show, just because you're a stranger doesn't mean that we don't want you on the show. We want you on the show.
We do.
So,
we want to meet you.
Yeah. So let's talk about our new friend, Candice.
That's right. Candice is a licensed professional counselor in Texas. She holds a Bachelor of Behavioral Sciences from Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene, Texas, and a Master of Arts in Health Psychology from Texas State University in San Marcos. It was so interesting talking to her about this path into counseling for her because she really took an unconventional path into it. And that might be obvious by the degrees that I just listed, because what the heck are those? But you'll have to listen to the rest of the interview to find out what happened there, because it's cool.
She works for herself. She works in private practice in Georgetown, Texas. And she is also the host of her very own podcast called The Couch Next Door. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out now. She's great. She's, like I said, just so light and so lovely. With Candice on our show, though, we talk about how she has become a generalist on purpose and why that actually is really important in our field. She also talks about how your practice can and often does shift and change as your personal life and your experiences change. And that's okay. Even a good idea. You don't have to be the next Dan Siegel.
Jasmine, we're talking to you.
I know. I've said that more for myself than anybody else.
So something crucial that we really obviously have in common with Candice is podcasting. And so we talked to her a little bit about that in general, also about her podcast specifically, which, as Jasmine already said, go check out, particularly because we're going to be guests on her podcast coming up. And so we'll keep you all posted on that and let you know when that's going to happen. It's going to be super fun. Hopefully nothing gets cut from it. We'll see how we go. So anyway, as always,
we are both going to be on it.
It
I
is very
know, at the
popular.
same time.
Yeah, like it's possible. And we're gonna have to be friends.
I think so. I think that's what we're talking about too. Ooh. Anyway, so as always, we're so excited to share our interview with Candice. But before we get started with that, Jasmine, tell me what you've learned this week about counseling. I need to know.
Okay. So this is a bit of a dicey subject.
Okay.
But we talk about hard things on our show. And we talk about particularly something that I think we do talk about, but we could always use more of is talking about culture in our profession. Like
Between
common.
therapists.
Yes, yes. So kind of like if we are a population, like what are parts of our culture? I think, we talk about shame and kind of shaming other therapists. I know there's also kind of a norm in our professional culture of seeing each other as competition and like I'm not crazy about a lot of aspects of our culture. And I was sort of reminded of that this week. So I have a client who has recently moved to another state that I am not licensed in. And we talked about licensure in other states with Elise and Polanco. If you have not checked out our podcast episode with her, she is lovely. I believe it is our very first episode. We talked about licensure in other states and requirements and all the yada yada things. Long story short, I can't be her counselor anymore, but I still have to do my due diligence. And I'm going to try to reach out to counselor. She's in a big phase of transition. She's moving like all the way across the country. And so I'm trying to advocate for her. I don't know anybody in this state that she's moving to. And the requirements for licensure in that particular state are hard to meet. Like, it's not that I don't have them, but it's just, I think we've talked about this before too.
Yeah, we have talked about how each state has its own licensure, like reciprocity requirements, and sometimes it's really just not attainable or worth it.
Like, yeah, you meet all the requirements, but you just don't have the paperwork. Like I don't have access to a lot of the things that that I would need.
They need, yeah.
Yeah. So I can't be a counselor. So I'm trying to reach out to other counselors, trying to see like this particular client is like, they have a very heavy trauma background. So I'm really trying to be picky, and I'm notoriously picky about referrals, but I'm really trying to pick what I truly think might be the best fit for her in the limited time we have left in our relationship.
Yeah.
And so I've reached out to a lot of different counselors. You have something to say?
Well, you're wanting to really maintain a continuity of care for her, and that's so ethical.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more work, but on me, but it's temporary, right? I am reaching out to a lot of different counselors through just Psychology Today. It's a good starting point. I found a few, not a lot of, everybody's packed right now. Everybody's got a wait list a mile long, myself included. But I was able to talk to someone who was considering putting this client on the caseload, and we actually spoke on the phone. Not just via email. And I prefer that. I prefer to speak on the phone to get a good sense of who this person is, if I can. Totally. And this person was lovely. Like, honestly, I'm going to say all this, but I really actually liked this clinician. Like, I thought I thought they presented super well. I loved what they had to say about their treatment and what treatment looks like for them. But the conversation I come to most conversations very casual. I'm not just like spouting off, F-bombs left and right or anything. Like I'm not a bar. It's not it's not a bar casual, but I'm like
one step up from bar casual.
I mean, we do really hard work, and
Do we have to be so serious about it all the fucking time?
Yes, that's what the deal was. Like, I came real casual. I'm like, hey, I got this client. To be honest, like, this is kind of how I see her, and this is the things that I think she needs to work on, and this is what works for her. And this person, again, so lovely, but like a lot of conversations I've had with counselors I do not know yet, she's very abrupt, like very professional. There's very little, like, it's almost like no personality. And when I'm looking for referrals, that is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Personality?
Yes, I am looking for, does this personality fit with this client that I know well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because that's 90% of the
Crucial.
counseling relationship is
Mhm.
just personality click. Like,
Mhm.
do we click? Do you like me? Do I like you?
Yeah.
You know? And there's this part of our culture as professionals, it's not the first time this has happened,
Yeah.
where
Totally.
I'm talking to somebody and I'm just trying to I don't need them to be my friend, but I don't know, I kind of want a casual conversation with them.
Mhm. I feel like I've had a lot of these kinds of interactions with other professionals as well, whether it's a referral sort of situation or more often than not, it's like a case conferencing
Right.
situation
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
like maybe I'm seeing this person for individual counseling and they're also seeing that person, but for couples counseling or vice versa. I'm seeing them in the couples counseling role and they're seeing them in the individual counseling role. And oftentimes I'm the reason that that counselor has the job, quite frankly. The situation most of the time is that I'm the one who said my client needs another therapist. Again, whether that's an individual therapist of their own, because I'm seeing them in the couples capacity, or I'm seeing them individually and they're now trying to work on their relationship. And so I've referred them to someone else for couples counseling. So more often than not, you got your job because of me.
But
And
it's like,
now we're doing our conferencing,
yeah.
and I'm just trying to have a conversation here about how we both are approaching things, how we're both seeing this client. We've got releases to share everything that we think is relevant, and it's all very open, and yet it's oftentimes very stilted and very
Stuffy? It's just so
stuffy.
stuffy.
Yeah, and I'm like, we're just having a conversation here about our impressions, and this really doesn't have to be, well, in my mind, this isn't our only conversation. Hopefully, this is an ongoing, case conferencing relationship that we're forming here. And so why can't it be casual, start from a certain place, share, open, and then have another conversation down the road? But after a really frustrating first conversation, it really turns me off. I'm like, do I have to talk to them again? Ugh.
Yeah,
They
no,
didn't
for
add
real.
anything to the conversation. It's like they're playing their cards close to the chest. And it's like,
Yes.
why? Aren't we treating the same person and trying to help them? Like, what are we doing? I feel like it's so refreshing when I find that that's not the case. But quite frankly, it's more often than not that it's a very difficult interaction and less often that I have a really great interaction with another professional in this sort of
Mhm.
capacity. And I'm like, well, that was lovely. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, surprised by it when it should be the other way around. Like,
Right.
why isn't it more rare that I have this stilted, uncomfortable, what's happening right now
Well, it's like,
interaction?
we all do the same shit. Like,
Right.
it's not the exact same, but, like, we're all very aware of what this profession is. Like, if I'm talking to you, then I see you as, I think what you said about
And
playing it close to your chest is perfect way to describe this conversation. It's like it's so guarded. And so just,
yes,
I won't be myself. I won't. And if you're awkward around new people, I totally get that. But I
can't
see,
say too much or
right.
whatever. It's like, I'm
'Cause,
not,
like, HIPAA, and it's like, "We're this is fine, like, it's fine.
yes.
Can you chill? We need to know this is a real person that
Hmm.
we need to help. We have been employed to
Right.
help."
This
So
conversation is not being recorded. The
right,
IRS is not on the line. The insurance company is not present. Like, let's just have two clinicians just have a conversation about this client. We've got a release. Like, what is happening? Why are we
right.
not being
And
forthright?
it's funny because I see them as part of my team. Like,
Absolutely.
I see
100%.
so all
That's what
clinicians
I
as
want.
right,
That's what
right.
I'm going. That's what I'm opening. That's why we want to have this conversation is it's about building our relationship, our team for the benefit of the client.
Right. Not only do I see us as a treatment team, but I also see you as a counselor as part of the counselor team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the big counselor team, the
Mm-hmm.
all of us who are counselors
Yes.
counselor team. I
Unified.
see you as a teammate. I don't need you to be my friend. Like, I don't need you to be bubbly and stuff if that's not your personality, but I do need you to be honest. And I do not need you to play things so close to the chest and act like that I'm trying to get you. Like that I'm looking out
Yeah.
for stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's so much shame in this profession already. We don't need to target each other. We
Right.
don't.
This isn't an interrogation. You're not on the stand. We're having a conversation
Yeah. I've
between
definitely
professionals.
yeah, right. I've definitely case consulted with other professionals before. And I remember when I came out of facilities, like I used to work as a counselor in facilities, and we would have treatment team meetings all the time. And
Mhm.
the treatment team consisted of like the nurse or one of the nursing staff, my supervisor, whoever that was, the head of the counseling department,
Mhm.
me. At the jail, it was maybe a guard or two. Like it was the social person, like the librarian was there, like, and we would talk very honestly about
Mhm.
how this child is doing in the program. And even when I was a behavior technician, I would be in on treatment team meetings of like, how is the unit doing? Or like, how is this particular person performing on the unit? What is your input? And that was pre-license. Like I wasn't even licensed, but I was part of the treatment team for
Yeah.
these people. And so they wanted my input and they expected honesty. And I remember being so weirded out. It makes me feel like I'm weird. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Makes you like sort of question yourself.
right. When I get into the private sector, I get out in the real world and I'm like talking to other professionals and I'm like, are you part of the insurance or something? Like,
Totally. And you know what I think as you're talking about like your experience in a different setting, I'm reflecting back on my experiences in other settings too. And I feel like it has been totally different. Whether I was back when I was in foster care work and I would interact with other treatment team members for a particular foster child, it might be my supervisor, it was that child's therapist, it was like the person who was kind of overseeing the behavioral health, psychological health of the children were the treatment team, right? We all had very frank conversations about this child and what their needs were and what we might need to be doing differently and so on and so forth. Same when I was doing work with the CAC and all these other sort of entities that I've worked with or in career services even, right? You're having like very frank conversations about clients that you're seeing with your
Mhm.
supervisor and with the other therapists that are on our team. And I think it's just been completely different in private practice, but it wasn't that way with my supervisor,
Mm-mm.
right? With my supervisor and the case conferencing team that we kind of ran in the office with each other, it's fine. But it's with other private practitioners outside of that. And that's when it's like hit or miss. And I don't, as I'm thinking about it now, what is that? And I guess the thing I'm guessing it is like a lack of trust. Like there's a lack of trust
Yeah.
at the baseline, which sort of frustrating to me because like I think what you're saying about I see you as on my team already. And so I'm showing up with trust to the
Yeah.
very first conversation with you, a stranger, another professional. I'm showing up starting with trust.
I'm
And
showing up
I'm
with what I'm expecting.
right. And what I'm receiving back is a lack of trust.
Yes.
And that's weird, actually. Like, why are
Yes.
you not also showing up with trust?
Right.
We're all professionals. Let's start there with each other.
And this goes too with like, would you show up this way for a client? Like, would
Yeah.
you not
And
be
create doubt.
you?
Totally.
Yeah, like it just feels so distant. Like it just feels like I feel strange and awkward because I'm just trying to be chill. I'm just trying to be honest. Like I'm making some judgment calls. I have some opinions. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's part of it is like, I don't want to share my opinion or I don't want to,
Mhm.
I don't want to be too honest. I'm just going to accept and
Mhm.
what you're saying. And then I'm not going to say anything else. And it's like, well, why though? Like, why? Because
Yeah.
I'd much rather you just be honest and be like, I don't know. This sounds like a lot. Like I literally can't. So I would love that conversation.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I also wonder if there's an aspect of this that is those professionals that don't really have a systemic point of view
Mm,
versus those that really do have a more systemic, holistic point of view about their work. And so those of us that have kind of shifted into a perspective of having a systemic point of view means that we're like, okay, you're treating this person, I'm treating this person. Like, we need to talk about that,
yeah.
obviously.
We're in the same system.
As opposed to, I feel like this happens often where let's say I'm the therapist that recommends, I'm the couples therapist, and I recommend that this person go and see an individual therapist. And I give them some names, I give them some referrals, and they go pick one. And then I find out later on, oh yeah, so I started seeing so-and-so and I've been seeing them for a while. I'm thinking to myself, okay, why hasn't that person reached out to me actually?
Right.
Because I am the current therapist. You are the new therapist. Ethically speaking, you should be contacting me because you're now treating my client.
Yeah,
right?
I've done that
but I'm the one who reaches out to them, and it's like, whatever, I'm not going to lecture. I'm not going to have this conversation about who's supposed to be contacting whom. But when I do contact you and you're like tight-lipped, I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? You, like, if I pull out my code of ethics right now, you were supposed to call me. And here I am calling you. And now you're acting like you don't have anything to say. I know you have a release because I make the client get a release for both of us.
Right.
So what are we doing right now?
Right.
It's so weird.
I know. And it feels very it feels very professional culture. And like, it feels very,
I don't know where it comes from though, Jess.
I don't either. I
don't remember like getting those messages in school. And maybe that's why you and I have this philosophy too, is like, we went to the same school and I don't remember getting these messages about, not case conferencing with other professionals. I feel like that was something that was talked about in our classes and encouraged. And said like, that's actually something you should be doing. If at all possible, you need a treatment team plan, blah, blah, blah. You need to be connected to the client's other professionals and so on and so forth.
Well, and
are other people not learning this?
Well, you're right. But most importantly, being your authentic self. Say what you mean. Like, say what you actually think. Tell me what you think because I need to know. And you're another professional. Yeah. I'm not going to shit on you.
Right. You have a perspective. I want to hear it. I don't have the same perspective as you.
No.
Like in the case that in the cases that I'm thinking about where like I'm working with them in the couples capacity, I recognize that I only am going to see them in a certain dynamic, right? You're getting to see them individually. I'm curious how that's going and how that's relevant, right? Like if we have a release to talk to each other, why wouldn't we?
Right. We don't need to talk about anything and everything, but like we need to talk about treatment and what is going to be best for this person, not be so stuffy about it. Like, can we just be chill about it? Again, even if you are maybe a little bit apprehensive about meeting new people, like, or talking to people that you don't know well, please know other therapists are on your team. And if you ever feel judged by another therapist, that's on them. Like, that is on them because I may have opinions about it. So yeah, sure. I may pass judgment about other therapists and their treatment perspective, but I also know that they work their ass off to get where they are. And they do also help people. So who am I to say what's better than the next thing? So if you have a different perspective, I want to hear about it. But speaking of personality and like personable people, Candice is incredibly personable. She was a stranger, like I said, but she never once felt like a stranger.
Totally. No, it felt like we've known each other. All of us have known each other for
I forgot years. I didn't know her.
That's true. You're like, oh wait, yeah, we didn't know her.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about this and I totally didn't. I forgot that I didn't know her before this podcast. So with that being said, let's go. Let's go talk to Candice. Let's hear what she has to say because she's great and not stuffy at all.
Love those people. Welcome back to Therapy Tea, everyone. We've got Candice with us today. We're so excited to have you, Candice. Welcome.
I am so excited to be here. Yay!
Candice, we have so much to talk about today. You have things in common with me and Karen, and we don't know you quite as well as we've known some of our other guests. So strap in, everybody, because it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure where this is going to go, but we're looking forward to it.
I love those conversations. Those are my favorite.
So maybe start, Candice, by just telling us a little bit about what you do right now. Like what does your work look like right now?
Yeah. So I'm in private practice in Georgetown, Texas. I see clients on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Right now, a lot of the people I'm seeing, we're talking about relationships in their lives, not necessarily even like romantic relationships, but I mean, a lot of like, how do I navigate these relationships so that I can have the kind of life that I want to have and protect myself? It's just very interesting to see, like, I mean, clients are coming to me for various things, but a lot of times we end up in that topic. But I see, I think we describe ourselves as generalists. So a lot of times people come to me because they might have symptoms of depression, anxiety. I did a lot of work in my internship time as doing a lot of therapy for teenagers. And so I feel like that kind of helped me to become a generalist in a way of you kind of just have to go wherever those teenagers need to go. And so that exposed me to a lot of different things and a lot of different topics and kind of learning how to be creative in those different areas of the things that they wanted to talk about. So people come to me for pretty basic things, mood disorders, depression, anxiety, but we tend to find ourselves in different places in the therapy room, as you guys know. So that's kind of just the day-to-day for me. And then, okay, so last May, 2023, I started a podcast called The Couch Next Door. So Mondays and Fridays are typically the days that I get to work on my podcast, whether that's planning or doing interviews or editing or doing like all the things. So that's been a really fun little side project to dive into. So yeah.
Sweet. How long have you been doing private practice? And then when did you kind of add the podcast piece?
Mm-hmm. So this coming February, it will be 14 years that I've been fully licensed with my business. And then I started the podcast last May 2023. And that kind of came from, I mean, a couple of things. You know, I'm in the therapy room and I have one client at 2 and the next client at 3 and the next client at 4. And I'm thinking, God, I really wish that the 3 of them could talk. You know, like we kind of all talked about the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But you can't do that ethically. So I started thinking, like, how can I bring some of these conversations that I'm having in the therapy room with my clients out into the world so that people don't feel alone, so that people do hear similarities in their stories or hear that this thing that worked for this person could also work for your situation. And so just that kind of got birthed out of wanting to expand my work in the therapy room to, you know, other listening ears. And also financially, like it's hard to have flexibility in our just financial goals and our time as a therapist. You're kind of strapped into the client therapist hour. And I also have a lot of clients right now that have started to become a caregiver for their elderly loved ones. And I'm an only child. And so that's kind of always been in the back of my mind. Like, what am I going to do when my parents, you know, get to that stage where they maybe need a little bit of extra care and I'm working, right? So like if I could have some sort of like extra avenue of income that I have a little bit more agency over what that schedule looks like. So, I mean, ultimately that would be my goal is to make this profitable in some way. And if not, it's fun. But that kind of, you know, it's been interesting to expand my work to people outside of the therapy room, but also thinking about creatively, how can I profit from this too and make some financial goals happen that wouldn't otherwise be able to happen, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think as therapists, that's kind of like always what I'm thinking about, right? Like there will be some days where I'm like, oh, I just want to see clients and like, that's it. That's all I do. But then literally like the very next week, I'm like, I wonder if I could, and I'm not a side hustle person, but I'm like, I wonder what other kind of thing that I could do in order to make money and like increase flexibility. Because I mean, for a lot of therapists, that's why we become therapists. It's like, oh, I could be flexible. Little did we know there's not quite as much flexibility as I think was sold originally. But, you know, that we're always thinking about ways that we can, like you said, creatively. And that really speaks to me, like, flex those creative muscles that were maybe like the inspiring force that got us into this while also helping people, but maybe not always just seeing clients.
Right.
Like, how can we add variety?
Yeah. I think we could talk about the whole podcast part of what you do a lot because that's so similar to what Jasmine and I go through too. starting this podcast, a lot of it came out of this, like, what else can we do? What do we have to say? Can we stretch those other creative muscles and things like that? And also not profitable in any sense of the term at this time. But there's this like hope of something coming out of it in the future, coming out of this expended energy. But I'm curious about, because I always am interested in whether or not private practice was for sure what you knew you wanted to do. And if so, like, what were your ideas about how that was going to look and how does it actually look?
Okay. So, I mean, I had absolutely no idea I wanted to be a therapist. I feel like I totally stumbled into it. And so, no, I never really thought that this is where I would land. It's really funny. When I started my undergrad, both my parents are very business minded. So they wanted me to be a business major. And I am very rebellious when it comes to my parents, and I will do the exact opposite of whatever they want me to do. So I was a biology major because I wanted to be an occupational therapist. I'm terrible at biology. I got straight D's. And they told me, and I had already I was a sophomore in college when I started college. So I was already ahead of it. And they were going to tell me I was now going to be a year behind because I needed to retake all of these classes.
Oh, no.
And y'all, all I did was study. And I got straight D's. So I was like, well, hell no, I'm not doing that. That's for the birds. So I had a minor in psychology. So I just switched my major to my minor. But what the hell do you do with a psychology degree? Zero things.
Oh, but you can do so much with it. You can do so much with it, Candice. Don't you know? You can have all the flexibility in the world with that kind of degree.
You can go anywhere.
Right. And while the other side, as soon as you leave the room, it's like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? You know, what is she going to do with that? She's not doing nothing with that. Oh my God. Yes.
So I started applying for jobs with this degree in psychology and not getting anything. So I'm still working at the mall of this college town. I got to do something with my life, you know? So I was like, well, I guess I got to go to grad school. I mean, what else do you do with a psychology degree? So I applied to two grad programs. One was industrial psychology and the other was health psychology.
Literally, I have never heard of either of these two things. So crazy. Industrial psychology?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
The psychological workings of machines? I'm not understanding.
Y'all, neither had I. And I applied.
Good.
Okay, because I had to.
You're just let's go. It's got the word psychology in it. That's the same word as my bachelor's degree. Okay.
So
Great.
Industrial psychology, from what I remember, this was years ago, you're basically working in business. So I think honestly where that would have taken me would be HR, right? And you're in the helping profession of a business running. Health psychology was a very new thing. Even at Texas State, I think when I applied, they had only had 1 year of the program. So I got accepted there because they had just started. I did not get accepted to the other program. So I got accepted to the health psychology program at Texas State. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going there. So that's what I did. And again, what do you do with that? You become a researcher. That's what you do. You do a lot of research, which that didn't sound great to me either. But I was like, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do. I guess I'm just going to do this. Thankfully, at some point in my time there, the health psychology department talked with the counseling department at Texas State, and they created an extended degree plan for health psychology majors to take counseling classes to sort of add that to our degree so that I could sit for the NCE. So that's what I ended up doing. And I kind of got guided that way from one of the professors, and she was the one that was in charge of our practicum. She assigned me to work in a counseling therapeutic capacity with kids that were detained at Gardner Betts, the Juvenile Detention Center in Austin. And I remember when she first assigned that to me, I was like, what is happening? Oh my gosh, are you serious? You want me to go into the kid jail? You know, I didn't say any of that, but I'm sort of freaking out. But when I look back, I'd worked with teenagers. I'd been a summer camp counselor. I loved that work. So when I think back to it, I was like, she's a genius. She knew all of that. She knew that this was going to work out. So that was kind of the first time I was exposed to a therapeutic relationship. And at that point it clicked for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is exactly it. And so that kind of led to, I did a lot of in-home counseling for kids that were on probation. And so in a way that was very much it kind of led to the idea of private practice because I did have a lot of flexibility with my schedule. I'm scheduling these sessions. They didn't care when I did it. I just needed to have a certain amount of sessions a week with these kids. And so I think I really just enjoyed the ability to, like we're talking about, be flexible as far as like, okay, these are the days I'm working and these are the times that I'm available. And I really got to do whatever I wanted to do. And I didn't necessarily have to answer to anybody. And so when I think back to my parents telling me I should be a business major, it kind of came full circle. And I realized why they wanted me to do that. And I kind of wish I would have minored in business or something at this point. So I had a little bit more of a clue on the business side of things. So yeah, no, I didn't know this is where I would land, but this is where it found me. And I do enjoy having this, like, this is mine, like I get to decide how I want things to be run. I get to decide, how I want my clients to be taken care of. There isn't somebody else telling me what that needs to look like. So I really enjoyed that part of being in private practice for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's so, I have to just pipe in because we have something in common. This is what we have in common. I should say. So I worked at a juvenile detention facility, but I worked at like inpatient, I guess you could say. I worked as their counselor working through a program so that they could be eligible for probation after the program ended, right? But you worked in probation, like doing in-home counseling. I can't even imagine. Like, on the one hand, that was part of my frustration working in the juvenile justice system was I had a full stop. Like, the kids left, and that's exactly where I stopped. I tried to involve the parents as much as possible, but the parents had a lot of leeway as when they were going to be involved, meaning they didn't have to pick up the phone ever when I called, and they did not have to talk to me ever. I had a lot of them talk to me, and a lot of them did want the help. But even still, like, I was not able to actually go into their home or help them in any sort of way. But that is so interesting that you were able to go into their homes. That must have been a wild experience.
I loved it. It was amazing. If I could still do that and make money and my family wasn't worried about me all the time, I would totally be doing that still. It was the best experience I think I could have ever asked for. And it was just interesting because, speaking to like the parents' sort of reaction to us as counselors and also as a white woman, okay? Like,
right. No,
what do you know? Look at you.
Right,
what do you know what we're going through? That was always, almost always the first reaction. And so, yeah, there was some work I had to do to like gain their trust, to be consistent, to not be intimidated. There were a lot of times that they did want to intimidate me so I wouldn't show up again. And so I just had to keep going, just keep showing up on my time. But the things that, like, whenever you could sort of see that shift and that they would invite me in, oh, it's dinner time, like, let us make you a plate. And, ethically, I'm like, I don't even know, what am I supposed to do about it? Like, yeah. But I feel it's insulting to them if I don't. And it's just being able, exactly what you're saying, Jasmine, just being able to see that environment where they're living, seeing their siblings, seeing who lives in the home with them and what that dynamic is. There certainly were times when the parents stayed kind of out of the time I was working with their kid, but a lot of times they were like, they wanted to be a part of it. And I think some of that too was they needed the support and they were curious about, okay, what is this all about? Because they probably had not had any exposure to anything like therapy at that point in their lives. So I think as a whole, even as their whole sort of family dynamic, it was an opportunity for them to get support and help that they probably wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity for, or even known how to get connected to something like that,
Right. Well, and that's what I found over and over again is like, they just don't know how. Yeah. They just don't know how to do this. It's not that they don't want to do this. It's not that they wouldn't choose to do this. It's that they've been told that they can't and they don't know how to access it. So, yeah. And unfortunately, the juvenile justice system, for all its faults, it can be an avenue for counseling. Yeah. You did this an internship or was this a practicum thing?
So that, like, at the tail end of gaining my hours, I was doing that. And then once I became fully licensed, then I got to be a contracted therapist through that same company.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for a little bit. As I did that in conjunction with starting my private practice just to supplement time and income.
Yeah.
I think your story of how you got into the actual work of counseling is so strange, actually.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you went to this master's program with no idea what counseling was as a profession. It's called health psychology. And along the way, the professors sort of open this gateway of like, okay, here's what counseling is. Here's maybe the direction that you could go. I'm curious about like what classes are you taking in graduate school for health psychology if they're not related to counseling? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you learning?
Well, so that's what's so interesting. There was a lot of overlap. There really was.
I'm sure. Right.
So let me, God, that was a long time ago. Let me think. I mean, we did a group therapy class that was under the
Okay.
health psychology umbrella. We did theory that was under the health
Mhm.
psychology umbrella. We even did, helping skills. So like we had a class where we were paired up with another classmate and we did therapy with one another. They videoed it. We did the whole thing. That was under health psychology. And I mean, we had statistics. We had a brain biology sort of class. I did terrible at that class. Again, biology. Why did I major in biology? So we had that. It was much more geared towards research. So there were some more research sort of specific classes under the health psychology umbrella. But whenever they started to work with the counseling department, they sort of split the different degree plans. So there was a research focused one, and then there was I don't even remember what it was called, but it was more of like a practical sort of application of it. And so, yeah.
And did
so
you do your classes like within the psychology department building, or like did you literally go into the counseling department building?
So I did my health psychology classes in the psychology building. So all of those were under psychology. And then I think there were 6, if I remember correctly, there were 6 particular classes you had to take in order to sit for the NCE exam. And so so it extended my time. So I took another semester to finish up those classes. And that was all under the counseling department.
Wow, interesting. I'm curious about the nitty gritty because Jasmine and I both went to Texas State too. And I just didn't even know that this program existed as a,
I don't know
a
if
way
it
to
still
get
does.
into counseling. Well, we can always
It
look
may
it up.
not. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
And so many counselors take such a traditional route. It's like, usually we get a degree in psychology and then we're like, well, what can we do with this? And then it's like, well, I guess I can do counseling or I can be a researcher. Do I want to work in clinical or do I want to work in the lab? And a lot of people just are like, well, I'll do counseling. And then they do professional counseling because there's a lot of professional counseling programs. And then, so it's a really, at this point, it's a pretty traditional route, but that was not it for you. Right. You didn't even so your degree is not in professional counseling. Like you don't have a master's in professional counseling.
No, I have a master's in health psychology.
Nice. What? Look at that. You can do lots of things with your psychology degree.
They mean nothing. That means nothing. Y'all didn't even know that was a thing.
I know. What's actually funny to me is all the different ways that you can do this work, right? And we talk about this with other people that we interview, like social workers and things like that, like all these other licenses where the work that we do in the room with clients is the same. It's the same.
Yeah.
And yet there's all these different routes to get there. There's all these different titles. There's all these different combinations of letters behind your name. But at the end of the day, the actual grind of how we are and what we do in the room with the client is the same.
Yeah.
I don't think that general population really realizes that, If it's hard for us 3 sitting here to like understand how this happens, I can only imagine how the normal people seeking a counselor, they're just kind of like, I don't care. Like,
yeah. They don't know what those letters mean anyway. Yeah.
I know. And it's like those letters meant everything to me. I was like, I just want more letters behind my name. And then you get people who, and because for some reason, this is going to make me seem qualified. This is going to make me seem a certain way to those around me, to clients coming in. They're going to see those letters and they're going to be like, oh, yes, this person knows exactly what she's talking about. In reality, they can't tell the difference between me and a life coach a lot of the time, like someone who is completely unregulated, completely doesn't have any sort of like nothing. They
just have a bachelor's degree in psychology sometimes.
If that, and then and me. Like there's no difference. So it's like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Really makes you reflect.
What we're doing with our lives.
Right.
Collecting letters.
Right.
Yes. All the money we're spending on collecting these certifications and registrations, and the clients just like don't understand or care. They're judging your competency based on how you interact with them, that like relationship that you build in the room. And that's the thing. That's the crucial bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the part when I think about my journey to land here, that's the part that I loved, and I think that's the part that spoke to me, that told me, oh no, this is something you really need to consider doing, because it was the relationships. When I think back when I was first starting, I think we all do get in our heads of, how am I the one sitting on this side of things? How am I the one that's supposed to help this person?
Right. Yes.
How am I the one that's supposed to have all these answers? But you're not. Like, I think that's, as I've matured and as I've done this for some years, I've realized that that's my job, is not to have the answers. My job is not to obviously not to tell them what to do, but it is to care about them. It is to give them the confidence so that they feel comfortable and safe enough to figure out their own answers. And that's all part of the relationship. I mean, that's how you get them to the place that you can see that they can land and you want them to be able to get to. But yeah, I mean, you don't have the answers. You just have to help them along in that. And that's absolutely the relationship. And yeah, they don't care what letters, they don't care what training, they don't care what CEUs you've done. As long as like you're in that with them and they feel seen and they feel cared for.
Yeah. It really brings into question, like, for some people, I think, certified or certifications really mean something, or at least mean something to the client. Like, oh, she's certified in DBT. I'm looking, and maybe that is true. Like maybe they've had some kind of experience with DBT or CPT or something, and they're looking for a specific kind of experience or kind of counselor. But it just really brings into question this drive that I think a lot of counselors share of, I have to be certified. Like I have to constantly be qualified for the job that I'm already doing. And I mean, it's like, for what though? And what makes you think you're not already doing it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It puts a real spotlight on imposter syndrome and draws a bunch of question marks around it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I remember I don't have an EMDR certification or whatever you're supposed to have. And I thought about it because I was finding a lot of clients coming in to see me, and we would start our therapeutic relationship, and there it is, the trauma, right? And and there's only so much, like I could do some of that work, but there definitely were clients that needed some real intense help. And so I was finding myself constantly referring out for EMDR. And so I started thinking, is that something I need to pursue? And no, like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
It's expensive. Right. There's a lot of time. It's not that I wouldn't want to. I would love to learn how to do that. I think that would be super valuable, but it's okay for me to refer them out. And I have plenty of clients that go and do their EMDR work, and maybe they stay with that therapist, but a lot of times they come back.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm okay doing that. Like I think my time is better spent with the clients that just need to feel comfortable first, or maybe they had a really bad experience in therapy and they just need to like revisit that for themselves. And yeah, if I have to refer out, I have to refer out. I think that was something I definitely struggled with as far as imposter syndrome goes, is I keep, is this a missed opportunity? Should I be doing something about this? And I mean, at the end of the day, I was like, but I don't really want to. So why would I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's such a pressure, particularly for therapists that are in private practice, because maybe that goes along with that sort of hustle culture thing that we talk a lot about with Jordan, and this idea that we need to be sort of entrepreneurial in our practice as private practice clinicians. And it's such a tension between all of the things that you need to be able to do and all of the clients that are going to come to you if you do all the things. And that way you make more money and that way you're a wealthy therapist and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but what if you don't want to, first of all, like you mentioned, but also, is that actually the way to go? To be the most, I don't know,
certified, the most certified,
to have all of the things, to be able to do all of the things, or to say you can do all of the things, or to take all the things. Like, I don't know. Do you make more money that way? Is it worth it? I don't know. I've struggled with that too, because I went through some phases when I was initially starting private practice, like that initial phase of being an intern, associate, and trying to figure out the direction I wanted to go. I thankfully had a supervisor that was really helpful in really encouraging me to find my niche and be like kind of brave enough, I suppose, to just stay there. Like, yeah, I could do a lot of things. Like, I run into a lot of trauma in my work too. A lot of people show up and we find the trauma, and I realized same thing as you, like, oh, I could do this work, right? I could get some sort of additional training and become certified or feel more competent in doing the hard trauma work, or I could refer them out and stay in my niche. And maybe that means that I don't see that client anymore. I lost those dollars. I lost the opportunity to sell myself as a trauma specialist. But like, the truth is I don't want to do that. And I also really love the specialization that I'm in. And I know it's a needed niche, and I just have to be kind of brave enough to stay in it. Just stay in it instead of trying to do all of the things.
Yeah.
When that pressure is there to diversify and do everything and be everything for every client and get all the additional training so that you can do that. It's like, for what?
Right. I love that. Like, be everything for every client. Because I think therapists struggle with that a lot, myself included. I struggle with that on a week-to-week basis of, this client is asking for this specific thing, or even like something even as like maybe bureaucratic as like this client is moving to a different state. Like, should I get licensed in that state to be there for that client? And it's this like very delicate, very intricate dance of, what do I want as a therapist? How much effort am I willing to put in, or is safe for me to put in
as a person?
As a person, right? Yeah. And how can I be there for my client? And does that mean referring out? Does being there for my client mean staying with them, or does it mean pushing them in a direction that is better for them?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because maybe if we're trying to be all the things, we're actually not being anything, like
right.
for them.
Yeah. Because if
totally.
you have all the certifications in the world, then what are you really good at, Yeah,
for sure. Well, and I think that's the other thing when I think back to just my journey in private practice is the more I started to get comfortable with the people I enjoyed working with, I got to really figure out what did I enjoy about this work. Like if I'm trying to get all these certifications that, again, probably don't even want to do, that's taking up so much of my energy to actually just be in what I'm already doing. And I've also just learned, I love learning about people, right? And so, sure, we have to take the CEUs, but those are not my favorite things like to learn from. I mean, I'm reading other books and listening to podcasts. Like, those are the things that I find myself constantly being able to bring in with my clients, is just learning about the human spirit and what it means to be resilient and all the different parts of us and how they work together. It's not letters. It's not certain specific trainings. That may be a really bad thing to say about like CEUs and stuff, but it just isn't. It just isn't.
No,
like, that's not where I'm getting it. Yeah.
I totally feel you on this. And it really bothers me that we can't step it up in the CEU quality. And especially with hustle culture, like, come on, we can't get better. Like, CEUs are so boring. And this is compared to like a book or a podcast that's really well done. Like, I learned so much more. I feel so much more connected to the topic or the content, and I take more away from it. Whereas, man, CEUs, they really just, I don't know. Maybe it's the PowerPoint.
I don't know what
reading from the PowerPoint. Jasmine knows it's a serious pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Do not read from your fucking PowerPoint slide to me. I am literate, okay? Cut it out.
I've seen Karen like chuff at a presentation. I've been in like a conference with her at which someone is just reading they maybe not a great presenter and they're just reading from the PowerPoint. Maybe they're nervous and she just
can't stand it.
Just sitting there chuffing.
I just cannot.
At least all the counselors that I know are good counselors and they love to learn. Like, I think that is something that we kind of we all have in common is we love to learn. But yeah, like these CEUs, these certifications, the way that they are presented is very old school. It feels very, and there's almost like I remember I was doing this anxiety training one time and it was free, thankfully. It was like 3 CEUs or something and they were free. And I was just sitting there and it was a Zoom one, but I was just sitting there like so bored out of my mind. And then after it was done, it was only like 3 or 4 hours a day, but like after it was done, I was just like, I don't want to go to the next day. But then feeling like I should want to go because to this point, I've loved school. I want to learn. I want to teach. I want to do all these things. Yeah. But I hate this.
And I thought I liked this subject, right?
Yes,
like I was interested in this subject. I really do want to learn about it. And now you've made it boring. I showed up curious, open, interested, and it's like just gone downhill.
Yeah, I would much rather just go read a book. Like, and that's what I would get, because I had to like get all my CEUs this summer, and so I'm like cramming as you do. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I just put this on mute and go read this book about go read my No Bad Parts book that I'm in the middle of? Because that would be way more valuable to use my time for. Oh,
totally.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think I think modern CEUs. Modern, like saying that in quotes because I'm not really sure they've changed all that much. So modern and older CEUs, I think the structure of them is just so not like what counselors are kind of, that's why we got into this field. We got into this field because we love, like you said, Candice, we love learning about people. I find myself being drawn to stories, like to people's stories. And the books that I read are like
Totally. Yeah.
Like
books. A case study or scenarios.
Right. They like present different case studies and what can we kind of learn from this, or this is a good representation of this. I love that stuff, but it's because my whole job is hearing the stories of people.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't make sense for me to just love sitting in an anxiety training where they're just talking about like the best ways to treat anxiety without that human element,
Yeah. Well, and not creative.
Yeah.
Right.
They're reading the bullet points off the motherfucking slide. It's the worst, the actual worst. Like, and you know what? Here's the other thing that bothers me is maybe that training you went to, Jasmine, was free and that's great. And I've done some of those too. And they're just as boring as the ones that you pay for.
It's true.
And then the ones that you pay for, you've paid, I don't know about you guys, but we're looking at like $50 a CEU hour, give or take, depending.
Minimum.
Yeah, that's cheap, right?
Yeah.
And it just boggles my mind that this shit is so boring and so poorly produced. And then on the other hand, I can listen to a well-produced podcast, for example, like some of the really interesting ones that Jasmine and I both really like they're clearly well-produced, not like this one. Right? Like they've got producers, they've got like people.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
This is a really great one.
Let's be real though. There's like another level and we're not at that level.
We'll get there.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. Or like a Netflix documentary or something, right? That's really well produced. That stuff is free or almost free. And the quality is better. The ability to really actually teach me something is better. I mean, shit, I learned more from watching the Inside Out movie than I would have learned from some stupid presentation about feelings that a therapist put on.
Yep.
It bothers me. It bothers me that I have to pay money for it at the end of the day, too.
Right. And that I'm being held accountable for it as well. People are going to check in on you if you see whether or not you have actually done this.
have actually been these particular types of learning, right? Like we all, like we said, we all like to learn and we are gonna learn because we like it, right? Nobody has to pay me to want to learn or to go out and find resources that are going to help me learn something that will help me help my client. Like I have shelves of books that I have chosen to pay for because I want to read them, or things that I choose to engage with because I am curious about this subject because I want to help my clients. Like you don't have to make me do that,
Right.
actually. But I do want to engage with the things that I think are going to be useful and get credit for that, as opposed to this kind of checklist of stuff that you need me to do. And then when I do those things, I'm bored to tears. I have now spent all day or several days doing this training and not seeing clients. And so spending money and not making money, right? And then I feel like I don't want to read that book that I actually did want to read because now I'm sort of burned out in some ways.
Yeah. Tapped out for sure.
It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Candice,
terrible.
I'm so curious because you have such a unique story to stumbling into this career. This may be kind of a personal question, but had you ever been to counseling like yourself?
No, I hadn't.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because I actually was just having this conversation with one of my friends that I grew up with because she asked me the same thing. She was like, how did you get into this? I mean, she's known me my whole life, but we'd never actually had this conversation. I never was exposed to therapy until I was in grad school. And then I guess we were married by that point. My husband and I started to do counseling together right after we got married. So that was really my first experience. And that was sort of like, I wanted to. I think therapists need to have that experience of being on the other side of things. And so that was really my first experience being a client. But I had I don't want to say a lot of emotional stuff, but I am a pretty intense emotional person. And I'm just really thankful for my mother that she was just very kind and lovely about that. And so I think if she hadn't been, I would have been way more, messed up in the head about that stuff because I was very intense. I had a lot of anger. I didn't really know what to do with all of my big emotions. But, in the 90s, therapy was not something that you put your kid in unless they were like a major problem. And I was a good student. I was well behaved. I just had these like outbursts. And so it wasn't really a normal thing for, I think, a kid like me to be put in therapy because it was just every once in a while, I'd have these little breakdowns. So no, I wasn't exposed to therapy as a client until I was an adult.
Yeah, same. Well, not exactly the same. I was in undergrad, but I didn't even know what counseling was. And I was also a person with very big feelings. I had a lot of energy in a small package and everyone was very kind about it, but for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know what counseling was either. And I remember the only thing I understood about counseling was the school counselor, in high school or middle school. And it was the person that, you talk to about your academic schedule, not about your feelings.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe they do some of that, but not with me and not with anybody I knew in school. Like that's what you went to the school counselor for, was to talk about your schedule and maybe changing a class or something.
Yeah.
And that was it. Okay, Candice, what do you wish you had known before you got into this? Before you got down your journey, down your path?
Before I got into this thing that I didn't even know I was going to get into, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I mean, it's a lot of what we've already talked about. I feel like, I think one thing that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to have the answers, like I am going to keep learning and I'm going to keep enjoying learning. And I get to, aside from the CEU debacle, like I get to choose what I want to learn about. And that is oftentimes guided by, what I'm talking about in the therapy room with my clients. And it's helpful to me as just a person, and it's helpful to my clients to be able to sort of conceptualize some things because I'm learning on my own. I think the main thing, though, when I think about, they teach us rapport, right? Like we have our helping skills class, right? And you learn the word rapport and you learn what that means. And you do
sorta learn what that means. Right. They throw it around a lot and then they just assume that because it's been put in so many different contexts, you probably know what it means, although no one can actually define it.
No. So I think that's the part that, like, yes, we learn about rapport, but really learning what it means to develop a relationship with our clients. And, thinking about my experience being a client with the therapist that my husband and I saw together, I feel like she's the one that really taught me, honestly, what I wanted to be for my clients, because I loved the way that she sort of developed a therapeutic relationship for us and for me, even individually. And so being able to see that in real time and experience that, honestly, I feel like that's what shaped what I wanted to do for my clients as well. Because I mean, I'm not structured. I can be like, I have clients that they might want a little bit more structure. I'm like, okay, I can do that, but I'm not, like I want to go wherever you want to go in the session. And sometimes that's griping about traffic and that leads us to something from your past. And sometimes that's, you're annoyed with work or whatever, right? Like I want to go wherever they want to go. And that's part of developing that rapport. That's part of developing that relationship. And that's going to lead us to be able to do some of that hard work. And I think, yes, we have all the evidence-based theories. We have all the, the CBT, the DBT, the EMDR, like all those things. And they're great and they're wonderful. But if we don't have the trust, if our clients don't believe that we can help them, doesn't matter what strategies or techniques or whatever theories we're bringing into the session, like that doesn't matter. It's really about if they feel seen, if they feel cared for, if they feel safe. And I think I wish that would have been emphasized a little bit more on like really what that means and why that's so important and how do you really do that? Because I feel like I really just figured that out for myself being a client, and what I wanted my clients to feel like is because how I felt when I was a client.
I have to assume you also learned that because I did as well in working in the juvenile justice system.
Sure.
I mean, you have families and those kids who don't trust you coming in. They don't get a choice a lot of the time on who gets put with them. And you start at the bottom of a very steep hill. And you just have to keep on trucking, like keep on going up the hill. Hey, I'm still here. I'm still going to be here. And I do truly care about you. And I'm willing to put in the work to create that secure attachment and make you feel what it actually feels like to be supported maybe for the first time in your life. And you're right. I have taken like that and into my practice now with clients. And I get the same thing. People go, I don't have EMDR either. I'm not really, I would also consider myself a generalist. I say I do have specialties, but I also really like seeing a lot of different clients. And I think Candice, you and I are the same in that way because I love like just the relationship aspect of counseling. And I think that is the thing that has been so career and life changing for me in session. You get clients who say, I need this specific thing. I will refer out. And then a lot of the time they will just come back because it is the secure attachment. It is the relationship. It is the rapport. But you're right. I'm not sure that is definitely not for me. It was not fully communicated what that actually means nor looks like. Now, I was told a lot what it does not mean.
Sure, right. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of rules around the relationship. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, don't be their friend. But what the fuck does that mean? I do believe that that's true. I'm not my client's friend. I make that very clear. But what I think about myself in grad school when one of my professors told me, you're not his friend, right? And I was like, heartbroken, but also so confused because I was like, what am I? This is the only relationship like that I know how to make. So please help me make something different because I don't know how to make something different out of this.
No, I think that's a really good, y'all got to have clients that you wish you could be friends with, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
And I wish I could even tell them that,
I know, me too. I'm like, I just love you so much. I just wish we could just like hang out. Yeah. But we can't.
No, right. But I think that's it. Like you have to sort of make this space like that. And with the boundaries, but that's also teaching them boundaries, yes, we can banter and we can be friendly and it may feel like a friendship in here, but that ends, when that hour's over, that ends. And that teaches them boundaries in their own relationships because they have to understand the boundaries in our relationship. And even thinking about like what you were saying, Jasmine, with the kids that you worked with in that inpatient setting, like how many freaking games of Uno did I play? Like, I don't know if that's what you did, but I always had those Uno cards. How many games of Uno did I play as like rapport building? And I had to get in my head, this is relationship building. Like, this is therapeutic. It doesn't look therapeutic. And sometimes the parents are like, you played Uno for an hour. And it's like, I know what this looks like. I get it.
Yeah.
But I promise I'm going somewhere.
Right.
It's crucial, actually.
It is. This is therapy, actually. Like, this is what therapy looks like for them because, and for a lot of clients too, even my adult clients, like, I mean, I see primarily adults now, but like even adult clients that come in, they're like, I want to process this and I really want to work on this. And I'm like, but what does that mean? Right? Like, what does that really mean? Do you know what processing means? Like,
I know.
Do you even know what you're asking for right now? I feel like that is part of kind of what you said, Candice. There's this delicate balance between friendship and the counseling relationship. We have to add elements of friendship into this to make the counseling relationship feel as supportive as it needs to feel. So if we need to talk about movies for a little while, after we've just talked about something very traumatic in childhood, if we need to switch and talk about movies for a little while so that you can feel like I've gotcha, then that's okay. But yeah, in grad school, it was like, no. Like, you don't need to talk about things like that with them, only if they're adolescents. But I find that my play therapy work works pretty good with adults too.
Yeah.
Well, and what you were saying, Jasmine, about how in grad school there was a lot more emphasis on what rapport is not versus what it is, and how to, like, what are the actual actions, right? The behaviors that you need to take to build rapport with another person. And I don't know, as we're talking about this, I'm trying to rack my brain back to grad school and think about how was that taught or talked about. And it does seem like it was more about what not to do than what to do. And I came into grad school from prior careers, right? So from prior things that were not therapy related. But now when I look back at it, I think about how it connects to what I do now. But I think I learned about building rapport when I was a foster care case manager. So I worked for a foster home placement agency, and I managed foster homes. And sort of similar to kind of y'all's experience in the juvenile system, I'm going into these foster homes to manage. I'm their boss. I'm the foster parents' boss in many ways, but they're all older than me. They're parents, I'm like 22 and I'm this 22 little white girl. And there's a lot of like, what do you know versus what do they know? And I had to figure out very quickly how to build trust and rapport with not just the parents, but the kids. And the kids are coming in and out. Sometimes they're there for a really long time and sometimes they're not. But the parents are the ones that I'm most consistently kind of interacting with. And so I learned about how to build rapport in those settings. And then also as a paralegal for a divorce attorney, I'm the one on the phone with the people who are going through divorce. And I'm the one getting the information that we need, most of which is like pretty intimate information that you don't talk to people about. We're talking about not just like affairs and things like that, but I'm talking about like literally what is in your bank account. Like what is the literal dollar amount in every single bank account you own? Like that's intimate stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, being able to build rapport in those types of relationships, I didn't have a name for it probably at the time. And it wasn't until going to school and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is. But I'm not learning that here. I've already sort of learned how to do that in a trial by fire kind of way. And then I'm being given a name for all the things that it's not in therapy, in the counseling relationship. And that what not to do was a little bit scary, actually.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It like sort of makes you afraid of how
do anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do I build relationships with these people? And it was like, I kind of had to get over that fear once I started actually seeing clients out in the world as an intern, as an associate. and go back to some of the skills that I already sort of knew about rapport building, right? And about trust and about just allowing a relationship to build slowly over time. And I wish we could teach it. Like how
Well, that's
how
what
do you
I was
think
just
we
thinking.
would teach it?
Yeah. How could this be better? Can we
Yeah.
come up with a way? I don't know. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah. There really has to be.
I mean, I go back to, so I took a class actually post grad. I was like invited by somewhat of a mentor of mine while in grad school to take her class because she wasn't offering it while I was in grad school. Like the whole time I was in grad school, she didn't offer it. So it's child parent relationship therapy. You're basically teaching parents how to like some basic play therapy skills. And honestly, I found so many answers to some of the questions that I think we're bringing up in that class, because I literally teach parents toes follow your nose. Like, like stop looking at your kid like with a half, your shoulder in, your nose to them, but your toes are over here. Even basic stuff like that, reflective responding in like a script format, like very much like I still have CPRT clients, and I have found a lot of like myself in beginner grad school where it's like, well, I already know all that stuff. I already know, like, I know feelings. Yeah. Like I get parents all the time that are like, well, I know they're sad. And I'm like, but have you told them? Have you told your child that you're sad? Like,
that you know that they're sad?
That you know that they're sad? Like that you can see that? And when I get stuck in, they always say, one of my group professors in grad school was like, well, if you get stuck, go back to basics. Like, if you get stuck, go back to basics. I do that every week. I find myself getting stuck, and then I'm like, what would I tell a parent to do in this situation with my adult client? And I literally just go back to that, and it's great. Toes follow nose. Reflect, reflect, reflect. Don't try to fix everything all at once. Simplify, stick to the facts. Like, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of like, if you're a therapist, and I think if you enjoy being a therapist, I think you probably are, like, to what you were saying, Karen, you probably already have the skills on how to develop rapport, develop a relationship with your clients the way that you want to. I guess I just wish that maybe that was part of the highlight, is like, what are your gifts in your relationships just in general? And like, let's figure that out. Because, I've been to various therapists, and there are definitely ones that I click with better than others. And I think some of it is just a personality thing,
100%.
If I'm going to a therapist, and this works for some clients, and they seem really formal and they are asking questions in a certain way, it's fine, but I don't feel that relationship the way that I do with another therapist that I feel a little bit more affection for, And so I think that's the other thing that clients, and I tell clients all the time, if they're looking for a therapist for their loved one or whatever, I was like, you have to feel comfortable. And sometimes it is a personality thing. Like, you may just not like that therapist personality. I'm sure people don't like my personality. I probably don't seem formal enough. They're like, what is this girl doing telling me, feelings or whatever? Like, she seems like she, is just a rando person. But yeah, I think sometimes it is just our personalities. We probably already have those skills. And that's not something I think they really talk about in grad school.
Yeah. Like, what are the strengths that I kind of naturally have that I can build upon?
Yeah.
Something that I learned in play therapy and CPRT is like, what are our strengths here? How can we point them out and build upon them? Yeah. I think that's
identifying them, right? Identifying them, being able to really say, these are my strengths, and that's what they actually look like, as opposed to being really vague about it. Isn't that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and because they give you like these in the helping skills class, right? Like, these are the things to work on. Like, these are the specific skill that you work on. And that's part of rapport, but it feels so formal, like, yeah, I wish it was a little bit more just, let's see what you do, and let's see what your strengths are. Yeah.
I think the intention is there when we do things like recorded sessions, like in a practicum clinic or something. I do think the intention is there. This kind of is making me think about my mentor in grad school, where I used to get so pissed at her because she would just go around the room and we would look at a piece of everybody's video in the class. And then she would just be like, Now, everyone tell so and so what they did right.
Yeah.
And everyone in the class would always get so pissy. Karen's like rolling her eyes because that's 100% not her.
Oh my
And
God, so not me.
but I would also get mad. I would be like, can we talk about ways we could improve here? You
I
know?
didn't like that part either, though. I'd be like, what are we doing? So nobody wants to say anything really useful with either question. What is this person doing right? All their answers is like, they looked really nice. Like, if I can get out of here, that's useless. Or what do they need to improve on? Well, she folded her arms. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Again, it's just so shallow. Useless.
I don't know though, because I find
it's a miracle that I made it through school.
And why were we giving each other feedback? We didn't know what we were doing. Like, I don't know what she did right. I don't know what she did wrong. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Seems fine to me.
So right, on the one hand, yes, but I also really loved that she made me do that so often because like that is maybe not the execution, maybe not the best, but like that is ultimately what we're talking about is like, how can we point out the strengths? How can we learn to identify them? And how can we point them out? Because if we point them out, they're more likely to grow. Like if we can point out and identify what's going on with this clinician and how good they are at this particular thing, whether that's being informal, whether that is having, a certain relaxed vibe, whether that is information sharing, like whatever it is, like how can we identify it? I really learned to identify that more in myself, and I'm able to bring that more to session and rely on those strengths.
Yeah.
Although the process of it is horrendous. I hated it. Hated every second of it.
Well, and I think that also comes with the longer you do this and even maturity. I feel like I've sort of felt more comfortable with, being less formal now because that's just who I am as a person in general. So why would I be different in the therapy room? That's not authentic.
I've kind of gone through a journey of questioning how to be in the therapy room. And we talk about this with a lot of our other interviews, this pressure to be a certain way as a counselor and not seeing myself in that. And then questioning like, is this even the right career path for me? Is this what I should even be doing? Because I don't really think that's how I look or that's how I sound or that's how I am. And so really going on a kind of journey to find maybe to embrace this is who I am, this is how I am, and it's still good therapy, right? It's still good work.
Yes.
And I can be authentic. And actually, when I'm authentic, I'm doing better work. And so it's taken me a while to really embrace that. Anyway,
I love that.
Okay, I want to play the devil's advocate for a moment here.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about this whole like not teaching what you should do with rapport and how that's like a crucial component of what we do and what we need to be doing. And instead, there was a lot of maybe focus on what not to do instead. And that made me think about how we go to these ethics conferences and it's still the most common thing that counselors get pulled into the board for, and that's boundary violations.
How? I don't understand.
I don't
It's
understand.
still like the top of the list that therapists are having sex with their clients. And I just
really
cannot, I don't get it.
What's really funny? I have a client that is a therapist in training. And so she's like doing her practicum right now. And you're overwhelmed. Like you've never done this, whatever. And her supervisor was like, just don't have sex with a client and you're fine. It's like, just don't do that. And you're going to be okay.
You'll probably be all right.
Why?
Yeah. Even
Why
if you
is that such a hard rule?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been harped on, right? Jasmine and I talk about this all the time. We hear it every conference we go to. You read it in the stats. And so I get that it gets harped on and then it gets harped on when we're in school. So I understand, I guess, why they harp on don't do that because it's still happening. It doesn't matter how much they say it over and over again. It just boundary violations happen.
Yeah.
Constantly. Yeah. So maybe that's why they have to harp on what not to do versus what to do.
Well, I think it seems like the amount of attention that what not to do, I can definitely see how that particular thing, don't have sex with your client, like it's such an issue apparently in our field, it's such an issue that a lot of attention will be put on it. And then so that would cause people to think or, to sort of logically get to the point of, okay, well, what is the things that are leading up to this point and how can we address those?
Mm-hmm.
But that takes away from the stuff that we're talking about. How can we point out the strengths that we have, and almost creates a fear of, well, if we point out these strengths and we point out all of the things that do look like friendships and how to balance those two things, maybe they'll get misconstrued, right? Like maybe people will think that we're encouraging the rapport building too much, and then it'll exacerbate this problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that that's true.
I don't either, especially when I think about sometimes like the stuff that I try to teach couples. A lot of the times I talk to them about how it's really important when you give your partner feedback that you tell them what you want them to do, not what you don't want them to do, right?
Mhm.
Instead of saying, hey, it really pisses me off when you leave your socks all over the floor. Stop doing that. You say, hey, I'd really love it if we could put all the socks in the hamper. Right. So I'm saying what I do want and I'm focusing on that instead of what I don't want. And so I teach my couples that because I've been told in counseling work, and I've been learned this through Gottman and other couples therapists, that like that's a better way to give feedback. That's actually more helpful and more productive. It actually allows us to move everything forward. Well, why aren't we teaching that in our counseling space to each other? Like, here's what you do. Let's talk about what you actually should do and how you actually should build rapport. This is the healthy way to build rapport. That includes boundaries, right? It includes limits. It includes being aware of that. And it includes this very clearly what to do. You know what I mean? It seems like counterintuitive. Why are we teaching it in one space and not the other?
Yeah.
Candice, I'd like to switch gears if I could, because you consider yourself a generalist in private practice. And, I would also consider myself a generalist, although I do have a specialty. Is that something that you do? Like, do you have a specialty, but you're also a generalist, or are you just kind of a generalist across the board?
Well, I would say when I started my private practice, I specialized in adolescents just because of what I was coming off of. And what's really interesting is I have kids that I saw when they were like 12, 13, 14 that I still see as 20-year-olds, which I absolutely love. And they're some of my favorites. And I've just kind of watched them grow up, and they've, come and gone throughout the years. But it's sort of like developed into more like young adult is probably, those are probably some of my favorite clients to work with, are those in their 20s. So I would say that my specialty was adolescence. It's no longer, I just don't have a lot of teenagers that I see now for several reasons. I've changed my schedule throughout the years. I've got kids that are needing me in the evening. So as they got older, I started to pare back my evening slots. And so I just am not available for those teen hours like I used to be. And the other thing I've also noticed, I have a 13, almost 14-year-old. I'm in a different stage of life than when I was, in my 20s, seeing these teenagers. I'm now a parent of a teenager. And so I work really hard to still stay as the therapist, but there's a little bit of a tension there for me because I see much more where the parents are coming from, and I don't want to be another parent. And so, I think that's part of the reason I don't see as many teenagers as I once did. I still have a few, but it's not my main focus.
Oh, I love this. And I think this is a lot of people need to hear this. Like your specialty changing with your life and just what comes with you with life. Because we see as therapists, we see like Dan Siegel and John Gottman and Sue Bratton. Like we see all of these people who are like superstars, right? And they do like this one thing, and it's like
for 40 years.
Fucking ever. And you're like, that is the model, right? Like that's who we're reading about. Like we are reading about in the books. We are reading their books. And so we're like, I feel so much pressure. I think as a generalist, I can say this, like I feel so much pressure to lean into a niche. And I could.
Sure.
But I just, right now, that's just not what I want. Like, that's just not what I want to do. But I find myself really struggling with that. And so I have to assume that other counselors do as well, of like,
Yeah.
should I? Should
Mm.
I? And should I go with the thing that I was good at 5 years ago? Like, or that was my specialty or my niche 5 years ago? Should I continue with that? Because I love what you said, Candice. Like, it's not like your knowledge base has really changed all that much. Like,
Mhm.
you still probably work great with adolescents,
Sure.
but with the way that your life changes, your work and counseling will change. with
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I just have to be aware of that too. Like it's not that like you're saying, Jasmine, it's not that I don't want to work with teenagers anymore. I just understand my limitations now that I didn't have 10 years ago. And I think that can be hard because yes, I did have a specialty, and they harp on having a specialty and having that niche. And I did have that. And now it's almost like I don't really feel like I can say that anymore because I only have a couple of teenagers that I'm seeing. So I don't really feel like I can say that that's my specialty. And so I've really had to sort of own this idea of being a generalist and be okay with that. And that I don't have like this, major thing that I focus on. But I don't know. I think I just go back to, but I really like who I'm working with and I really like what I'm doing. And yeah, maybe it's general, who I'm seeing and what their issues are that they're bringing in, but I still really like it. I don't feel lost. I don't feel confused. I think if I was feeling frustrated, then I might need to reassess that and maybe need to revisit, okay, well, do I need to find a specialty since I don't like this doesn't make sense for me right now, but I don't feel that way. So I guess I'm just like, well, if I don't feel that way, then I guess it's okay. I don't know.
Yeah. Like the term generalist, as far as counseling is concerned, is not equal to undecided.
Right.
Right.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I love that. Yes. Because I feel like that's what it felt like for so long that I just couldn't pick something.
Yes.
Or maybe I wasn't good enough in one thing that I just couldn't do the one thing. So I need to do all the things. Okay. I like that. That's really good.
Yeah. The fact that you're able to recognize that honestly makes you a much better counselor than someone who maybe is trying to kind of fit their own personal puzzle piece into this same spot over and over and over again, and it's just not fitting anymore, right? Like just trying to force something to work when maybe it just doesn't work anymore. It's okay. And that's okay. That's fine.
Or being like swayed by the outside noise, the external pressures to be a specialist in something forever. And you're able to really separate that from, okay, but how do I feel about the work that I'm doing and the way that I see it?
Yeah.
And just take those things apart from each other. Yeah.
I find that as a generalist, I can be just as picky and just as specific as someone who has a very clear specialty or niche. And I can do that because I am a generalist. And if I can focus more on the relationship. I can focus more on like, I just don't click with you. I don't know what it is. On paper, maybe we are a good fit because I'm a generalist. I work with just about anybody, but I don't really like you all that much.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Like, I can see that definitely being something that I'm able to pay attention to is just what is the relationship like rather than what is this thing that they need help with first, right? Like, I'm looking at the relationship first rather than if I'm a trauma specialist. Okay, well, then we have to talk about trauma every single session. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not a specialist, so I don't know if that's the pressure that they feel as a specialist. But yeah, no, I agree, Jasmine. It makes the relationship building much more of a priority for me than whatever it is that they're bringing in.
As a specialist,
Yes.
I do feel that pressure actually sometimes because I work with a very specific type of client, although my niche is broad, incidentally, right? So if I were to describe the kind of clients that I work with, I would say that every individual client that I work with is either considering getting a divorce, going through a divorce, or just finalized a divorce and trying to heal from that process. However, it's pretty broad. There's a lot of things that come up at all of those different phases, all those different sort of parts of their journey. I will work with people who individually, they start with me because they're considering getting a divorce. And then they decide to stay married, right? They decide to work on their relationship. And a part of what I continue to support them in in my individual work with them is maybe they start going to couples counseling with a different couples counselor to try to work on their marriage. And, we're continuing individual counseling through that process. There is sometimes a point that I get to, particularly with specific clients, that maybe go through that whole journey with me. Maybe they start out considering getting a divorce, and then they go through the actual legal divorce process, and then they kind of healing part of the divorce process, and then they're good for the most part, right? Like we've worked on everything that we're going to work on, and it's about kind of ending our time together. And maybe there's other things that they want to work on. I've had clients like have other family dynamics that they want to work on, and we can do that. And we do, but it does get a little bit like, well, technically I'm not doing my specialty right now, right? If like they've already sort of moved through those issues, the issues related to separation and divorce, or even co-parenting, which I find very adjacent. But now maybe they're talking about their relationship with their mom. Oftentimes that stuff comes out through, right? Because I'm of the mind that your relationship with your family of origin, and I have a very systemic point of view, has a lot to do with like why you picked the person that you picked and all of that. So I sort of, I guess, justify it in my mind that way. Like, well, it's still kind of related. But yeah, I do feel like a pressure to explain sometimes, like why I'm, seeing certain clients that don't quote unquote fit my niche. So, it does happen for sure.
Gosh, Candice, you are a wealth of knowledge and experience. I feel like we could talk to you all day.
I know.
However, I do want to know what you would recommend to other people. We're winding down. We end all of our shows with resources for other therapists and counselors. And you being such a unique person and a unique clinician, I think these are particularly valuable. So what is one resource that you have found to be really influential to your work as a counselor, or maybe your journey into counseling?
This may sound really cliche, but I love the Enneagram. And I don't even go through the Enneagram with my clients, but knowing it to the depths that I've started to like really learn about it and understand how different people have different parts of a personality in their one personhood, and how those different parts of their personalities can come out has really, really informed me, I think, in my personal relationships, in my therapeutic relationships, and just also understanding them, like understanding a person and all of the different nuances that make up who they are. So that is a resource that I've really come to love and enjoyed diving deep into. So and I think my favorite book to start off with is The Road Back to You, is Suzanne Stabile. That's my favorite one to start with. So that would be my recommendation for those that have not read it.
I don't do a lot of work with Enneagram, but I do have a couple of clients who have maybe in the past done some Enneagram stuff. And how did you get into that? Did you just like hear about it and then?
I had a couple of friends that always would talk about it, and I had no idea what they were talking about. And I was like, well, I don't want to be excluded. So I better learn what this means, and I better learn what number I am. And so I am somebody that I have taken a lot of personality tests, and I never felt like any of them were like super true for me until I did the Enneagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so true, because there's so many parts of me that feel opposite, but that's actually part of my personality. And the reason that part of me that feels very opposite comes out is because I'm under stress. And that's when she decides to appear, So really understanding how all of those parts of myself work together in my personality, it just like my friends talking about it motivated me to learn more about it. And so, yeah, and I just loved it. And it made a whole lot of sense for me, and it made a whole lot of sense for the people around me. So it's been really helpful in my relationship. So
I like the way that you've described that, because I've always kind of thought of it as just kind of like, it feels a little
like astrology.
It feels a little pseudoscience-y. So this might be my motivation to just get into it.
And let me tell you why I like it a whole lot. Is it because it focuses on our motivations, not on our behaviors. So a lot of those other personality tests, which is I think why I didn't really identify with them, is because they focus more on what your personality looks like on the outside. But this is all why. Like, what is the why that you're operating like that in that particular scenario because of your personality? So that's why I like it. And that's what makes it different than other ones. So
Okay. This sounds like maybe a more informed love languages.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like not quite so patriarchal
Yes.
or religious.
Absolutely.
I love when people talk about love languages. I'm like, have you read that though? Like, have you?
They have not. None
They
of
haven't.
them have.
They
No,
absolutely haven't.
they take the test and they figure it out, and that's the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's reading that book. Yeah.
It's entered like everybody's consciousness, but they really don't know what the basis of it is. It shows up in couples counseling all the time, guys.
Oh, I'm
That it
sure.
does.
In my work, it shows up all the time. Everybody knows what their quote unquote love language is. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
Do you?
Right. Like, have you
Right.
read about that man and how he views his wife? Like,
Or do you know what like it means really to say that this is
Right.
your love language? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I don't know that you and he would agree, actually, the author, right? Like,
Right.
you know?
you're
So,
a woman.
it's interesting. The whole
Okay,
thing.
I can get behind it then. I can get behind it. If Enneagram is a little bit more informed, while also more informing us more about our motivation and not just telling us like, hey, this is you, astrology type stuff.
Yeah.
I can, all right.
I can at least get behind it from like a curiosity standpoint. I've had
Sure.
like, I have clients bring it up too.
Oh yeah. No, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about something a little bit more fun, hopefully. What's like one
More
of the
fun
most
than Enneagrams?
Yeah. I mean, Enneagrams are very fun, but as far as like Candice, the person and professional, but more so the person, what is something, a book, podcast, movie, normally we stick with books and movies, that has been most influential to you? Like everybody's gotta see this. This is like a bucket list consume media thing.
Gosh. Okay. Like, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be therapy related.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes, it is.
Jasmine really encourages it to not be therapy related. So
Okay.
I'm okay with either.
Because we're all people. And like you talked about, Candice, you're the perfect candidate for this because we're generalists. We focus on the human spirit probably more than we should. So, what is something that's like you got to do this?
Well, I feel like everybody has already done this, but
Okay.
the Barbie movie is my favorite movie.
Okay.
Whoa. All time?
I think so. I know that
Wow.
sounds like I really do. I'm in love with Ryan Gosling. Like,
Okay.
so that was always a check mark for me. I love any sort of like dancing, and there's lots of dancing in the movie.
Dancing.
And oh my gosh, girl power. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that movie was made for me. When I watch it, it's like, I think this is my favorite movie. And I love it. It's so great. I have 2 sons. They're 9 and 13. They also enjoy the Barbie movie, which I'm like, yes. They're not getting into the patriarchy, so teaching them young. But yeah, no, I love the Barbie movie. I feel like a lot of people have already seen it, but that is...
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you've got to watch it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I know. I don't watch enough movies, but
It's a good one.
Besides
Unapologetically girly.
Yes. Like,
Yes.
I'm a girl's girl. I make girls movies, and we're all on the same team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just the message. I think like there's a part in the movie where a character...
Is this a spoiler? Because I haven't
No.
seen it.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything specific.
Okay. All right. Good.
There's like this monologue towards the end of the movie that this one character goes off. And all of my friends, like, we're just like, that's everything. That is it. Like, that is what we feel every day as women in the world. So it's...
Yeah. Even if you don't want to watch the Barbie movie, I know what you're talking about. America Ferrera does this beautiful monologue. And you can find it like on YouTube. And I think everybody, I give it a watch every now and then. I think it perfectly does encapsulate what that movie is trying to say. So even Karen, if you don't have time, I know you're a very busy lady. If you don't have time to watch the whole Barbie movie, I think it's like an hour 50 runtime. If you don't have time to watch it, watch America Ferrera's 2 to 3 minute monologue. Yeah. And that is the movie.
I'll get it. And what we'll do is we will link in our show notes to the movie and the little monologue video.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. Anything you want to plug, Candice?
Yes.
Plug it up.
Speaking of the Enneagram, if anybody like Jasmine wants to get started, I did a whole season on the Enneagram on my podcast.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's called the Ennea season. So that was the last full season I did in the spring. And so I love doing that whole season. I have an expert. She's an Enneagram coach. So she comes on and she explains the Enneagram to us. And then in every single interview, I have 2 strangers that have never met before that are the same number. And they talk about what it's like to be that number. And so that was really, really interesting to see people that didn't know each other, but how much they just automatically had in common because they were the same personality. So anyway, if you need a crash course with the Enneagram, that is a really cool place to start because
That's a cool idea.
it's, you get exposed to all the things. But anyway, my podcast called The Couch Next Door. Yeah, I've had 3 seasons, 3 full seasons. I did a small little kind of fun check-in episodes where it was just me speaking about some therapy things that I find that pop up often that I just wanted people to know about. And I'm working right now on season 4. And so this next season is going to be talking all to experts. So I've got several therapists, some other podcasters, other experts in the field of areas of mental health. So that's going to kick off in the fall. So
Super awesome. Super exciting. We like your podcast too. One of the things that really resonates with both Jasmine and I is your rant segment.
yeah, that's a crowd favorite for sure.
Yeah, totally. We're all about it.
Yeah. I love a good rant. So y'all are going to have to start thinking of your rants when y'all come on my show.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear
we're
about it.
Yeah.
What we really have to do is to whittle it down.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. With some personalities, it's like, I don't have a rant. And for some, they're like, I've got 15. Which one do you want?
That's us.
You want today's or maybe yesterday's?
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, look for us on Candice's podcast sometime in the near future. I won't give away too many things. We'll make a couple of announcements before we go on her podcast, but definitely check out her podcast, Catch All the Way Up, so that when you get to our episode that we're going to record with her, you can be ready.
Yes. Thank y'all for having me. This is so fun.
Thank you so much, Candice.
Thanks for coming. This has been fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for listening to Therapy Tea. If you like this, please rate, review, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Share our episodes with someone you know who might be interested. Maybe your friend, your classmate, your mom, whoever.
We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show and get a bunch of other exclusive counseling and mental health related content from real mental health professionals.
That's us.
We have several different series in the works, as well as bonus episodes that are available for members right now.
Connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram at Therapy Tea Pod and Facebook as Therapy Tea Podcasts.
You can also connect with us on email, therapyteapod@gmail.com. You can send us questions, comments about the show, suggestions for future episodes. Hey, maybe you want to be interviewed. Maybe you hear the show. You're like, I'm a counselor. I want to be on the show. Or just say hey. Whatever it is, we would love to hear from you.
Thanks again. Till next time.
Bye.